However, I knew we were cheap on that one, kind of of those opportunities where it's like, if you feel like you kick down the door is the only way to get in. And so we did. We put a price out there that no one else was willing to beat or compete with. And so reluctantly, he signed off and said, okay, but they're going to fail. There's no way they can build it.
So, Brett, thank you for joining us on the Elite Entrepreneurs Seven Figure Journey podcast. I'm really excited to have you. Uh, Thankful for you bearing with us with these technical issues that we were having prior to this, trying to get this set up. Brett, you're the CEO of Tatco Construction, and we wanted like just really learn your story, get some lessons for our entrepreneurial community that we have here, and just have a good time right now. And maybe if you could introduce yourself, give a little bit of background about who you are, maybe even your origin story, and I think that would be a good start for us to go from.
Yeah, absolutely, Joel. First, I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to get to share a little bit of our story. But yeah, I'll give you some of my background. I'm born and raised in Central Oklahoma. Oklahoma City's always been home for me and my family. After graduating from Oklahoma State University, had a brief career in kind of the oil and gas space, and then stumbled my way into commercial construction. I say stumbled by, I ran into a gentleman who I'd known personally in a parking lot, actually when I was interviewing for a job in the oil and gas industry. But at that point in my life, I was kind of excited about trying something new and getting out of the cubicles and gray walls of corporate America. And this guy was starting a commercial construction business. I think he needed a bookkeeper more than anything else. And I had a little bit of experience with QuickBooks and some back office accounting. So it was a good fit. It was just the two of us, and was able to watch him grow that business over about 4 years. And then it was July of 20, and I got that itch that I just had to go out and scratch. So I jumped out and started Tatco Construction. Um, July of 20 may have not been the most obvious time, and looking back to start a business, but you know, construction was still going on. Oklahoma maybe didn't recognize COVID as much as some other areas of the country, so the economy here was still moving and vibrant, and it was actually turned out to be the best time to jump in. And so that's the start of the Tatco, was July of 20. At that point, it was a solopreneur endeavor. It was just me. We were doing some small commercial build out work. So your local nail salon, or maybe a insurance agency. So all office and commercial retail. We got our first big break about 6 months in, where a developer let us in on a Starbucks that was coming to town. So this is in the kind of northwest part of Oklahoma City, and we got to go build that first Starbucks. That Starbucks led to another Starbucks opportunity, and then another one, and then we were able to get in with a concept called Dutch Brothers Coffee, which was another kind of fast growing coffee concept. We've chased them across, I guess 6 different states now. It was that opportunity that had us open up an office in Orlando, Florida, to support the growth that Dutch had in the state of Florida. And then it's been, just a number of other national concepts that a lot of people know, from O'Reilly's Auto Parts to Wingstops to Dollar Trees. Salad and Go, I think, is maybe more of a regional one, but we've chased what the industry calls, QSR, quick service restaurants, and try to pride ourselves on building fast, building quality, and doing a lot of them. So the business has grown from what was, kind of the humble beginnings of just a one-man shop to just about 50 employees now, with 3 different markets. So we're down in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Oklahoma City, and then Orlando. And so that's kind of the very abbreviated but kind of origin story of Tatco Construction.
Wow, that's some huge growth in a short amount of time, I would say. Yeah, I definitely need to check out Dutch Bros out here in Orlando. I honestly, it's my first time even hearing about them. And I'm a big Starbucks person. I'm always going to Starbucks.
There you go. You
Uh,
have to try them.
and so I mean, that's awesome, man. And you're definitely living like the American entrepreneurial dream right now. But I'm sure that's come with lots of stress and the usual challenges, right? I would say, right? So
Oh
for
yeah.
growing, what would you say? I mean, let's stick to the maybe the positive stuff here though. What, maybe to highlight your company and what you guys do, what would you consider your unique value proposition in the marketplace is? I know you mentioned speed, right? And these quick shops, right?
Mhm.
And maybe a big heartfelt client success story that you have kind of come across in the journey so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think that value proposition for us is speed. There's a kind of a saying in the construction industry when it comes to the three components. You've got timing and speed, you've got quality, and you've got price, and you can pick two of three. And so for us, what we're trying to target ourselves in is that speed and quality. And the clients that we serve value that. If you're a Starbucks, you know exactly how much money per day you're going to make for every day you're open. So if you can build with us and be open 30 days faster, that's 100,000 in revenue. I don't know what their metrics are, but they see the value in the speed. Um, it's it really is. I mean, when we talk about a client success story, I mean, I would highlight our relationship with Dutch Brothers Coffee because I have have developed a close relationship with one of their directors of construction, a gentleman out of Dallas, who has been a major key to our success with them. But early on, we got an opportunity to bid the first Dutch Brothers, and he did not want us to get awarded the project. He had been kind of forced. A few different contractors have been kind of forced down his throat. They, led to delays and terrible projects. He's like, look, no, I'm not adding a new guy to our list. You know, we're not going that route. However, I knew we were cheap on that one of those opportunities where it's like, if you feel like you kick down the door is the only way to get in. And so we did. We put a price out there that no one else was willing to beat or compete with. And so reluctantly, he signed off and said, okay, but they're going to fail. There's no way they can build it as fast as we need them to build it and for the price that they've quoted. But out of just, I guess, a little bit of, determination and desire to prove someone wrong, we did turn that first Dutch Brothers over in under 100 days at the price we'd committed to. Now we didn't make any money. we we gave all of that money back to the project, but it did. It opened a door for us to then go build 20 more locations and really expand across the southeast with our presence. You know the success there is not what we did. I mean, it yes, we had a contract, we had an obligation to go deliver, and we took that very seriously. Um, but it was the idea that there was a partnership there, and so we had to prove ourselves the first time. But after that, I mean, we have been in lockstep as a partnership going forward. We have, sometimes we have to have difficult conversations. Sometimes we have to work through problems together. But I think at this point, they know they've got someone they can trust and rely on. At the same time, we know that we've got a partner that is worth building for and that'll help us succeed.
Yeah, I mean that's an awesome story. I would say I would ask even, what would you say are some of your biggest takeaways from maybe even that experience, or even I would say advice for maybe companies that are in a similar situation, right? Where maybe they're new in the market and they want to kind of make a name for themselves. What have been some of those kind of key lessons and things that maybe people are not keenly aware of or they don't really foresee in the beginning that you maybe went through and you could kind of provide some gems
Yeah, I
on.
mean,
Yeah.
I think I touched on it a little bit with just this idea that the first opportunity you're going to have to go out there and take. I don't think you can sit around and expect anyone to hand you that first opportunity. And so with Dutch Brothers, it was that case. Like we could have been competitive, maybe been $5,000 or $10,000 cheaper than the next competitor, but they're not going to make a change for that. We had to be $100,000 cheaper to get in the door. So there is times to kick down the door and make your presence known, and especially early on. And we were lean too. I mean, Joel, I think that's the piece that is important to remember too. We weren't a company of 50 people. At that point, we were a company of about 4 people. So we could stand to to be lean and get that project under our belt. Um, but in my world, growth feeds growth. So also the more projects we're doing, the more project banners we've got out on, construction fences, the more that we're getting to talk about it on social media, there's more clients that we're touching. And so it starts to feed itself. And that was, I don't know if it was a vision necessarily at the beginning when we started, or maybe just be, running from my shadow, scared that if we ever slowed down, it would all come crashing. But you've got to find those opportunities that you can really go kick down the door and make your presence known. And then you have to be out there doing work and doing a lot of work, even if it's at lower margins, or maybe you're not hitting all your financial metrics. It's feeding the future, and it's feeding that future growth.
Yeah, I think that's some good um, advice. In my words, I would summarize that as, hey, just put in the work, even if you're not making, money hand over fist in the beginning. Even if you just got to put your name out there.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned something really key to honestly what we do here. So, I mean, just to give a good some summary of what we do. So we specialize in leadership for
Mm-hmm.
seven-figure entrepreneurs, right? So, and you mentioned about, you necessarily didn't really have that vision in the beginning, but you kind of just, what you went forward with that, nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, so we're big on visionary leadership here. What impact would you want to have, in the construction industry or in your community, broadly speaking, within the next 3, 5, 10 years even?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about vision, and I say one of the things that is part of our vision and part of who we want to be is we want to be a relationship based contractor. And at the risk of kind of sounding corny or cliche with that, the construction industry is very transactional. And it's a lot of times it gets this reputation of this guy trying to screw that guy to get his little slice of the pie, and it just feels like a very adversarial dynamic that's within this industry. And we have had more success trying to create relationships and rapport and even friendships throughout kind of the value chain. So it's not even just clients, right? It's easy to say, hey, look, I'm going to go spend a lot of time with that client. But more importantly for us, it's subcontractors, because we're a subcontracted industry. So, I need good electricians and plumbers. I'm worthless if I don't have those guys actually out there doing the work on our behalf. Um, and so the vision is we are going to be the relationship based contractor. And there's going to be times that maybe we don't get awarded work because we can't have the lowest price. But we judge project success by two things. Do we have a happy client, and do we have happy subs? And if we can check both of those boxes, I believe the money will find its way into the company. So 3 to 5 years from now, what I want to see in the three markets that we're in, and inevitably the markets will be in the future, is that we are the general contractor that subcontractors want to work for. That they sit back and go, look, hey, anytime a Tatco Construction project pops up on the board, we're going to go after it because we know they're going to pay us, they're going to treat us right, they're going to be proactive, they're going to communicate well. All of the soft skills that I'm sure, Joel, as you've dealt with a number of businesses, you would say apply to every business, regardless of industry. It's just interesting that it doesn't seem to be as pervasive in construction.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a beautiful thing. And you're right. I think the industry as a whole does definitely have that connotation, very transactional, probably even like low trust, right? I think that's
Mm-hmm.
another way to probably put it.
Yeah.
And maybe as a pivot here, so one of the things that we're big on, like being authentic and being just open, as far as just as entrepreneurs at different levels, right? Especially when it comes to growth, right, and leadership. Maybe in that context, what has been, one of some of the most challenging aspects of regarding leadership in your current stage, right? You're having 50 employees. That's a lot, for lots of people.
Yeah.
What would you say? Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, like, I think of this example, and it kind of probably is a good highlight for the just a lot of the business challenges that no one sees, right? Like everyone sees the success and they, we get congratulated a lot. Like, oh man, you guys are booming. I see your signs everywhere. It's like, yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's exciting. That's, some of the rewards of being an entrepreneur. But this was fairly early on. We may have been in business for 2 years. And we had an employee that was a younger guy, a lot of energy, wanted to do a good job, but was really struggling in the role that we had put him in. And at that time, we were still a pretty lean company. My head was in 1,000 different places at once. Um, but as he continued to struggle, I continued to get more frustrated and get irritated. And why isn't he doing this right, or why did he do that? And then one day I just had it, and I called him in my office and said, "Hey, look, it's not working out. Today's your last day." And I mean, you thought a truck would have run him over. Totally blindsided. Never saw it coming. Had never been given any feedback that he was struggling. And just, I still lay awake in bed and think about that and how that was handled and how poorly it was handled on my end. Because was it the right fit for him? Probably not. I mean, the reality is that he was struggling in that role. Did he deserve more from me and the company that he signed up to work with to get feedback to understand where he was struggling? And that's the hardest part about leadership, in my opinion. You got to remember you're leading and carrying with you however many other people that are alongside you. Like if it's going to be a solo, just you, I don't know that leading is the exact same. But once you've got employees and once you've got people relying on you, like you're responsible for them, their families, their livelihood. I don't think that means you have to employ them till the end of time. But at the same time, like there's a certain expectation that's on you as the leader to handle things well and be fair and transparent for everyone who's following you. And sometimes you need those lessons that sting a little bit, but man, that one still stings as I think about it.
Yeah, that's real. One of the things that we help entrepreneurs with here is really navigating, obviously the people aspect, right? Everything from getting the right people on board that's aligned with their vision, mission, etc., values, and sometimes it's a struggle, right? So a lot of the times, what we found is that once entrepreneurs get to that seven-figure range, tend not to know how to really navigate so many people coming to them for decisions, etc., and them feeling overwhelmed and saying, "Hey, like I created this company to have more freedom or time, and I'm having the exact opposite of that." etc., navigating those kind of things. I mean, can you maybe, speak to that a little bit, or whether any of that is happening now, or maybe you've overcome that in the past, just anything you could, touch on that.
Yeah, I think, for me, I really started to hit a breaking point about year 3 of our business. I hadn't done a good job of delegating and kind of empowering that next level of management or leadership in the company to step up and start taking the reins. And it got to a point where like it's that phase of entrepreneurship that people don't want to talk about. I mean, where you can't sleep at night, you're, working 20 hours a day. And I don't know that I get to where I am today without going through that, but it was a wake up call that yes, the people that are surrounding me, like I have to trust them. And I think that's the biggest piece to get through that, bottleneck is you are just gonna have to look at the guy across the table from you and say, "Hey, look, I'm going to trust you with this part of the business, this piece of the business. If you drop the ball, I'm going to suffer. The company's going to suffer, but I have to trust you with with these responsibilities." And so we did that. We were able to promote and bring 3 guys kind of into leadership roles and segment the business into kind of 3 different divisions. And it got us through it. And I mean, I would say today that I'm I'm as relaxed and have some of that flexibility that's desired, from starting your own business. Now I do like to work a lot, so My free time is still often spent in and around the office. But this is, I mean, this is an exciting part because I get to look out there, across the team and see the success that they're having. And there's way more satisfaction in handing something over to someone and then watching to see what they can do with it and exceeding even your expectations or the possibility of what you thought was possible. So it's been a fun time for our business, watching that next layer of leadership really step up.
Yeah, I think that's a big component, trusting your team. Very important. I mean, Brett, I would say, so where can people find you? What are maybe other, I don't know, even words of wisdom, honestly, for like our general community that you think would be beneficial to them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing that I like to pass along, and especially if we're, it doesn't matter what age you are, but I mean, especially if you're young, take chances. Like if you're sitting in a job and you're like, man, I want to go try something, I want to go do something, then go do it. Odds are you're probably pretty good at what you do. You can circle back to it in a year or two if the entrepreneur, you know, road was not what you wanted it to be, or didn't provide in the way that you needed it to. Because I watch a lot of guys who were stuck in really, really well-paying jobs, wanting to go try something else and almost handcuffed by it. Um, but the reality is like life's too short to not take chances. And I would say my experience was rock bottom is not as bad as I thought it would be. And there's been times where we kind of hit that point, but there's, if you have a good support network, you'll be able to work your way through those challenges. So, if anyone's out there considering trying something on their own, or turning a side hustle into a full-time, hustle, like go for it. You can always come back to what you're doing. And so, yeah, I mean, you asked if where people can find us. We try to stay pretty active on LinkedIn. So I'm, Brett Tatum, just there on LinkedIn. Tatco Construction. We do a lot through our company page. Outside of that, I'm pretty quiet on social media. So I might use Facebook Marketplace every now and then to go buy a used set of dumbbells, but that's about it for me, is LinkedIn.
Okay. Well, Brett, I greatly appreciate your time here. And I'm sure our audience will really enjoy the content as well. I mean, if there's anything else you want to put out there, now's the time. I mean, and if not, thanks for the patience in the beginning with
Oh
the
yeah.
technical stuff, and just all around. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
No, Joel, I appreciate it. No, I got nothing else to add, but I really appreciate you having me on and letting me share a little bit. It means a lot.
Thank you so much, and catch you on the flip side, and thank you for everyone for tuning in. See you next episode.